folks. So remember all that snow that we got? Well, that's all that's left. And that's the seaweed pile that I got weeks ago. And I just looked at the beach yesterday and we had a windstorm and there was just like tons of seaweed out there. So it is about 7:30 in the morning and I'm headed out to the beach to get some seaweed with the little white truck. Okay, I'm gonna try and get a couple loads. That's the old load of seaweed. I got 2 more loads of seaweed right there. I just gotta get them out in the garden at some point here. Yesterday I decided not to move the seaweed because it was pouring down rain. And it looked like maybe today it was supposed to dry up a bit, but I don't know, it seems like it's almost even worse. Okay, so Tyler gave me this really good out so I don't have to move seaweed onto the garden today in the rain. He suggested that I plan my garden for next year and get my seeds ordered, which I've been kind of putting off because I hate that job. But it sounds so much more appealing to sit inside and do that than it is to go outside and shovel seaweed in the rain. So that's what I'm gonna do. I have to go out for just a bit to pick up some bulk groceries that came in on the barge today. Otherwise, I get to stay inside for the rest of the week. Okay, dudes, so I think I've got a half-ass plan for the garden next year. Okay, so this is the northwest area of the garden. Northeast area of the garden over here. So I've already got my garlic planted in these 4 beds over here. And so what I was thinking is I'll plant my carrots. I had 4 beds of carrots last year. It seemed to be too much. So I'm planting 3 beds of carrots. And I'm planting them in an area where I don't think I'm going to have problems with clover. I planted clover and sugar snap peas in these 2 beds in 2022, but I've done enough weeding through these beds that I think that this shouldn't be a problem. I actually didn't undersow the chard with any clover, which I normally do. So there was no clover in this bed, and I think it's under control here. So I had problems with carrots getting overgrown with clover in a few of the beds in 2023. So those are my 3 beds of carrots, and then I need a bed of baby chard to put in my salad mixes. So this is a bed that I could, just go ahead and direct seed baby chard into. These will all need to be direct seeded, and so I'll have to scrape off the seaweed that I have mulched there before I do that seeding. Northeast bed prep. So this is northwest garden area over here. And this is the northeast garden area, including the 2 greenhouses. And so I had garlic in these 3 beds last year. And so I'm going to go ahead and plant chard and then kale, collard greens, and other greens. I'll have to decide what greens. And some more kale here. So kale and chard here. And I do have clover that was growing in these beds undersown. And I have, I'll go ahead and put some seaweed mulched on these beds, and that should suppress it, and I should be able to transplant in. Transplants don't have such a problem when I've undersown with clover the year before. And then I need a place for my Selenova lettuce. I've got 3 beds of Selenova lettuce, and this is where the carrots were growing before. Now these are a couple of beds that got overgrown with the clover. And so I'll be able to suppress those with some seaweed, hopefully, seaweed mulch, and then I should just be able to transplant in the Selenova. Haven't had problems with that in the past. And so then we've got, this was a bed of carrots. So I'm going to go ahead and put my leeks and green onions in that bed. And then I thought, I need to start doing a cover crop. So maybe I'll do kind of a sugar snap pea or cover crop in these last 3 beds that were baby greens last year. And so then the only last thing is my 2 greenhouses, which I had cucumbers in one greenhouse and basil in the other. And I usually just swap them, you know, do a little rotation between the 2 greenhouses. But this year, I think I'm not going to do any cucumbers because I had too much demand for basil. It grows much better. I only get a few cucumbers at the end of the season because I'm usually transplanting so late because it's been cold. So yeah, it's going to be a basil year. And early in the greenhouses, I'm going to grow some greens like I did last year. And this was the rotation in 2023. I'm going to go ahead and do like bok choy and orach probably in 2024. And in this greenhouse, Salanova lettuce and spinach in 2024. I had grown kale, trying to do that early, and it just doesn't grow fast enough. And by the time it's ready, the stuff out in the garden's ready. So I'm not going to do kale in greenhouses. I will probably, you know, later in the season when I'm doing the basil, do a little bit of a patch of orach as well, so that I can have that as a mix in my salad mixes. So that's it, folks. That's the tentative plan. Now I need to order seeds. Oh yeah, so the snow's already started. Okay, cart this stuff in here. Look at buying seeds next. Okay, folks, so I went through my old seeds just to make sure I wasn't ordering stuff that I already had enough of. And I think I have it already. So let's just go through this thing real quick. So lettuces that would go in my salad mix. I got the green sweet crisp and the red insides, which I've always liked. And that's from Johnny's. Very expensive. So I was kind of looking at these other varieties that are kind of a Salanova type lettuce from Territorial. And I ended up getting just, you know, a minimal amount of those so I can try them because they're half the price. So if they work, I might substitute that for the Salanova lettuce. Next up, baby greens, lakeside spinach. I don't think I'm going to do anything more than 1 bed in the greenhouse early. And so I have enough of that seed. Fire Fresh chard, I think I have enough of that too. I just need to do a bed out in the garden for the salad mix. Also ruby red orach, I think I have enough of that. That's also going into the salad mix. And I saved some seed, but I don't know. This is from last year. So I need to kind of sprout some of this older seed and some of my saved seed just to make sure it actually grows. And so I'll probably do that in a future video. So yeah, that's the baby greens. Sugar snap peas. In the past, I've done sugar snap peas, but not for a number of years because I was having problems with blight. And, but this year I really want to get a trellis up and see if I can't grow them. So I went ahead and ordered some sugar snap peas. Roxanne radish, I have enough of that. I just use it at the bed ends in the greenhouse to try and attract away slugs from the basil. So, okay, carrots. I'm getting Yaya pelleted carrot seeds and Giants of Colmar pelleted carrot seeds. And this is the deal. In the past, I've grown using pelleted carrot seeds, and I really prefer seeding using the Jang for those. But I couldn't always get the variety of carrot that I wanted in the pellets. So I wanted to learn how to do raw carrot seed. So the last few years I've been trying that. And I've been doing the raw seed. It's been okay. But, you know, sometimes the stuff goes down too thickly and then I have to try and thin them. If I don't thin them, then they don't grow as well. And I just really I just rather seed with the Jang seeder using pelleted carrot seeds. So that is what I'm going to do this year. And I was able to get the Yaya from a company that was not Territorial or Johnny's because neither of those companies had it. But I was able to get it. And I also want to do the Giants of Colmar because last year I only did small varieties of carrots. I didn't do a large variety like I've done in the past, and I really missed having that bigger size carrot for personal use, which could overwinter out in the garden, or I could harvest it and wash it and freeze it. So I'm gonna go ahead and do one bed of the Giants of Colmar. Beets. So I want to do beets. I haven't been able to seed them with the jang properly. They don't grow great, and I don't really have the space, and I just don't really want to deal with it this year, but in the future, I will deal with it, but not this year. So I'm skipping that. Kale, I've got enough of the Dazzling Blue, and I just needed the Nero di Toscana was out of, so I got some more kale. Mature chard, I have enough of the 5-color silver beet. In the past, I've used bright lights, and I wanted something that was a little more upright. And maybe this silver beet was, but I was eyeballing this improved rainbow from this company called High Mowing. So I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to get it, but I do have enough of the silver beet, so I don't have to get any seed. Collard greens. I got more of the flash variety, which worked really good last year. I planted too many. I had too much. A half bed was too much. So I'm going to do a little bit less of the collard greens. And then my plan was to do some more of some other type of greens. So I have some of this green wave mustard, which I think I'm going to go ahead and throw in there. So that's I've got enough seed and I don't need to get more. Basil, I saved some seed from this year, but I don't trust it. And I have just a little bit of seed from Territorial last year. So I'm getting more seed since I'm going to fill both of my greenhouses with basil this year rather than doing cucumbers. And so I want to make sure I have enough. So I got some more basil seed just in case. And then herbs, dill, parsley, cilantro. My plan was last year to undersow all of those herbs with my garlic as it was coming up. And I did do the parsley that way the last couple of years and it worked great. But trying to figure out, should I direct seed the dill and the cilantro, or should I do them as transplants? And if I direct seed them, there's too much seaweed mulch, and so I didn't do it last year. But my plan is to do it this year. I have enough seed. Moving on to chives. So I've grown chives in the past, and they overwinter really well, and they come back. Then I have something early in the spring, and so Floss Selvabub, she was talking about that. Why don't you grow chives? And I thought, yeah, I've grown chives. Why don't I? So I got a little pack of that if I can find a place out in the garden, because they can be kind of invasive. So I got to figure that out. Green onions. I needed more of the parade variety, so I got some more of that. And then leeks. I tried 2 varieties this last year, Bandit, which I've done before in the past, and the new variety, which was Chinook. And the Chinook variety actually germinated way more quickly than the Bandit. And they grew kind of the same. So I figure if they're kind of the same, I'll get the one that germinates faster. So I got a whole new thing of that, the leeks. And then bok choy. I have a whole pack of saved seed from 2022. And so I need to sprout these and see if they sprout. Plus I've got some extra in packets from Territorial. And all I need that is for the bed-ins in the garden to try and track slugs away from all the other crops. So I'm not getting any of that. And then, okay, cover crops. I was thinking that in those 3 beds that I want to do a cover crop, that I will use up my New Zealand white clover, which grows, it's supposed to be kind of dwarf, but it actually grows quite tall and chokes out my kale and my chard when I undersow it. So I think that if I can get in those 3 beds, sugar snap peas going fast enough or soon, before the clover, and then I can sow that New Zealand white clover and kind of use up that old seed, then that'll be kind of my cover crop for those 3 beds. Plus I can get some peas maybe. And then in the beds where I undersow with, with the kale and the chard that I undersow with clover, I'm going to use this micro clover, which is only supposed to be like 3 to 6 inches. So it shouldn't choke out I shouldn't have to be like, oh my gosh, I got to cut this back. It's choking out my chard and my kale. So anyway, I got some of that. And so I'm going to try that. So those are, that is the plan for this year. And I went ahead and I don't know. So this is the thing. I can get that Yaya pelleted carrot seed from Fedco, which is a company that some of the Southeast Alaska farmers were talking about being like less expensive seeds and maybe a good company to buy from. And, where'd it go? And so they do have the pelleted Yaya carrot seeds, but that's kind of all I needed to get from them. And this high mowing organic seeds comes from Vermont, and they have both the pelleted carrot seeds, but it's more expensive by $10. But I don't know, I could also get this other variety of rainbow chard, which it says is, upright habit, and so I thought I could try that. And so I might buy the Yaya and the chard from this company, since I'd like to try another chard that would be a little even more upright than the ones I've been trying. From Johnny's, I just got the Salanova lettuce, and everything else I got from Territorial. So yeah, all of these guys, the new Chinook, the different types of lettuce that are maybe a substitute for Salanova that I'd like to try, giant Salcomar, parade onions, and that micro clover, and then the chives. So yeah, I think that's it, folks. I think I've got my seeds order. I just need to hit buy now. Coming up February 16th through the 18th, I'm going to a Southeast Alaska farmers retreat thing up in Juneau. I've got my travel already, and Paxton of Paxtiano Dirt Frog and I, we had a chat on Zoom about agriculture, and so I'll probably be putting that video out next week. That's kind of it. Oh yeah, I was thinking about my Civil War video and how I kind of put it out. It was like, it's good enough. Kind of rough draft, fine, it's good enough. And then I've just been since then thinking, oh man, I didn't explain this very well, or I left this out completely. So I'm almost thinking that I may pull down that video, redo it, and put it up again. So we'll see. I think that I will, because I spent a lot of time reading those books, and I like to be able to go back a few years later and understand what I was trying to say. So anyway, that's everything. Talk to you guys next week. I just found a whole pack of seeds that was stashed in the back.